And to you, Donald, for suggesting that I take up flying, I leave you my airline.
The lousy airline!
To you, Suzanne, who liked hotel rooms, I leave my hotel chain.
Well, the hotel chain.
And to you, Douglas, who advised me to buy a Fisher VHS video recorder with wireless remote 9-program timer, I leave my Fisher VCR.
Oh, no! He got the Fisher!
It's gotta be a hoax.
It's gotta be a Fisher.
You old buzzard!
This is an initial look of a Fisher 1981 VCR. This is the FVH 520, and this was given to me by someone I know, and I'm kind of excited. This was his, I guess, parents' VCR, and he's cleaning up some stuff, and he said, yes, for sure, I will take this and give it a good home. Because I actually haven't seen much of these old Fishers. I've seen some General Electric Hitachi-made ones. I think Spatzbear did a video on it, and it looked very similar to the styling, but Fisher was owned by Sanyo, so wouldn't this have been made by, kind of by Sanyo? Everything I've looked up on these Fisher VCRs kind of puts them in their own category. I noticed this one looking at the plug just now. See, you do this if you want to plug into a non-polarized plug, I guess. Sketchy. Alright, power's on. Display is incredibly dim. Something's clicking inside. It's got a big manual eject button. Oh, the dampener still works. Ooh, this has an incandescent bulb. Yeah, I guess this is old enough. So I remember reading that the idlers on these were notorious for failing. I guess we'll find out. Initial look inside. Ooh, yeah, the counter belt right there is pooched. So I'll have to pop something on there. Yeah, looks like a VCR. Let's pop the top off. Alright, before we look at the top, pulled the cover off, and this has one of these nice boards where you remove the screws with the arrows. Now we get to see the underside. Ooh, yeah. Oh no, are these light blues? Oh, these are Rubicon. Okay. I saw light blue caps and I'm like, oh no, are these like those Sanyos on those Sonys? Okay. Take a look inside here. This is all very unfamiliar to me. Like, I've never seen this kind of mechanism before. So, first impressions, head drum motor, capstan motor, idler motor, and there appears to be a rubber idler here that I guess comes off of the play motor. Not sure what that's about. I'm bad at judging that stuff. But it doesn't look like there's any belts under here. And I guess this would be some kind of a mode switch? Oh no, this is the counter. Cool. Yeah, so this is what the belt on top drives. That's neat. So I'll need one belt on the counter because I suspect it'll use this to see if the reel is moving, and if it's not, it will stop. So I'll just put it's a counter belt. You can just use whatever, those cheap eBay ones. Quality doesn't really matter on there. There's a solenoid that does a thing. Cool. Well, I don't really see much that I need to touch in here yet. Might just pop a belt on the top there and then go for it. Popped a new belt on the counter there. The old one was just flex. And I did find another belt on the top here. Seems a little spongy. I suspect this is for loading the tape. Transport was pretty clean. Did a head cleaning and that's all I got, and that's mostly on the drum, not the heads themselves. Transport with some Q-tips, everything was clean, there was nothing stuck to the capstan. So, yeah. Let's see what happens. do a rewind. Well, that's good. Oh! Yep. This is trying and slipping, so let me find a belt to put on there. Yeah, it's toast. Okay, new belt's on there. I don't know if that's going to be tight enough. Let's try rewind. Oh, you know what? Shut the lights off here. I wonder if I need to put a cover on here because there's that incandescent light and it's not like the UV or infrared light that the newer ones use. Probably all the ambient light in here is causing a problem. Nope, I'm dumb. It was just turned off. So let's see, rewind. It's coming to life. I hear a knocking in there. Yeah, that's struggling. Okay, let's plug it in and go for broke. All right, we're plugged into the TV. I have muted the tuner, so we don't have to listen to that. And we are ready to go. Play. I got some tracking noise there. Oh. Yeah. So that seems like dried up grease because that was moving real slow. And I bet you that this didn't even engage. Let's try that again. Nothing's doing anything here. So the idler's not moving this side. This could just need a lot of lubrication. Ooh, it's like a rough spot right there. What's that rubbing against? Now the other question is this the idler that's used during playback? Because I saw that other idler tire on the back side. Now does that maybe drive this wheel? Oh yeah, see right there. That is probably the playback idler. Some of these older models had separate ones. Wonder what the condition of that is. So this idler piece here that moves back and forth is just plastic with those little grooves. And then there's a rubber tire here that drives it. And then there's rubber on this reel and rubber on this reel. So instead of having one rubber idler tire, you have three. And then there, so still you could have two and instead you have three because that one is a piece of metal with the grooves on it. So that probably drives during playback and this drives during wind and fast forward. So this is operating okay. It's that one back there that I need to look at. Let's fake this thing and see what happens. Got that covered on that side there. Should be no light. Do fast forward. It's got a good rattle in there. I bet there's a bump on that rubber tire that drives this. I can feel a tick, 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 tick as it spins. Watch this. When I hit stop here, see this turns and slightly moves these tape guides in. When I hit fast forward, they slightly move back in. So that's why this belt being bad meant I couldn't do fast forward or rewind, which makes no sense. Why does it need to do anything here? It should just go. Let's hit play. Nothing. This is just free spinning. So does that idler not engage? This is also not very tight there. Oh! Something's weird with that. Pause. What? That's pause. What the hell is that sound? Let pause again. Something with the capstan control, it's acting very weird. Very weird indeed, but this thing here is not driving. It's not even engaging this at all. Like, I feel nothing up against it. It just free spins. So let's... What? Why is my eject not working? Oh, for fuck's sakes. Alright, she's completely faulted on me. Did this to me earlier with the bad belt. Nothing does anything, and it will not even power off because it's faulted. So, and now that that solenoid's clicked, I bet you I can eject. Eject. Nope. What on earth is going on there? It's locked in. Yeah. Something is stuck in a position. What's weird is I don't hear any motors moving to try and fix that. Okay, looks like this guy here was loose, so this moves over during any playback function, which prevents eject from ejecting, and then it returns once things are done to allow the eject button to work. So I haven't figured out what got this to move back, me playing with it or me moving the belt. So yeah, I mean, it could just be the grease and everything in here is kind of dried up. All the rubber parts are dried, so I'm gonna start going bit by bit to try and get this to work. Long term, this would need the two idler tires, this one here, and I don't even know if you'd be able to get the ones on these wheels, but they seem to be working okay. This one's just got a bump in it, and that one's not engaging, so this one's either like dried grease or the tire's shot. These might still be good enough. We've got belts in, so yeah, just keep at it, I guess. Not sure how easy it will be to see here, but this idler tire goes inside. There's a little cutout on this capstan motor. Yeah, that's really not coming off there. See, there's metal. There's a little opening on that metal, and there's a similar plastic toothed wheel that it touches that's attached to the capstan motor. So this is moving during playback, and then this should engage with it. And then I believe on the top side of this is that metal piece with the teeth. And so that pushes in and I guess sits in between, so it pushes down and goes against this and goes against the take-up reel. So I'm going to play and see what happens. Power on. Oh, let's mute that. Turn the volume down. And play. Oh. It's kind of going. It's moving. It's not happy. What's squealing here? What? 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 Oh, what? It's coming to life. That's interesting. Gravity is on my side.
This, it's your vehicle through life. You can drive a jalopy.
Pause has no image.
Butters and can't start some days.
Now,
You can take care of what God gave you.
rewind and fast forward search are on separate buttons here,
Energy,
so
fast, speed, starts all the time. Get you where you want to go. All right. Hands up a little higher on the handles. Start to get a little bit more move.
I bet some of these models don't even allow the special effects functions on SP because you're just going to get noise. So like for example, pause. Let's just pause still. So probably in EP you get a picture because here I'm getting nothing. And this TV will normally show tracking noise. But it's playing now. Do tracking. This is
Nice
normal
machine.
tracking.
Nice movement, huh? I appreciate you trusting me, believing in me, to help you get in shape, to help you feel better. Don't ever hesitate to give us a call. Ask us questions. We're there for you. I'll always be there for you.
So you see how the head, like you can hear the head motor changing speed. This is crazy. Every VCR that I've ever used, when you adjust the tracking, what it's doing is it's changing the relationship, the distance relationship between the tracking pulse coming from the control track head and the initial swipe of the video head drum. The idea being there's a relationship between them, right? When the control track pulse hits, the video head needs to be at a certain position, and that certain position needs to match how it was recorded. If it's off a little bit, then it's going to be swiping in between video tracks. And what every VCR I've used has done is when you adjust the tracking, it basically momentarily slows down or speeds up. Yeah, I think it slows down the capstan motor because there's a feedback loop. And the capstan motor is what it uses to compensate for that, to change the relationship. But this one uses the video head drum. I'm going to turn that down so we don't hear. I'm going to unpause. Now, listen to the video head drum when I adjust the tracking. And you can see it in the picture. You can see it wiggle there. That's the video head drum changing speeds momentarily. What? This is just wacky land. I love this. I'm sure other VCRs do it, but that's why I think people always think that the tracking adjusts the speed, the playback speed, which it doesn't. It adjusts the relationship. The playback speed is fixed. It does use the control track pulse in the servo circuitry to match the speed to the recording, and it uses the control track pulses to figure out that speed, and there's a feedback loop there. But the speed is not changed by the tracking. The tracking changes the relationship. But when you adjust the tracking, you'll hear the linear audio speed up and slow down, so I think that's what makes people think that, sometimes anyway. But this one is the video head. Oh, that's awesome! So, is this just gravity helping me with a pretty... Oh no, it's in there pretty good. It's got a fair bit of grip there. So, was this just jammed? Okay, I'm gonna flip this back around and see if it plays in its normal horizontal position. Dang it, I didn't catch that. I hit stop and it didn't unload the tape. And now I'm locked out. I'm in error mode again. And the tape is loaded. So there is something weird going on here. There's not just the mechanical faults of everything being gummed up. there is some sort of electronic gremlin. It could be a power supply thing. I mean, maybe that display is not just dim because of age and use. I think this motor is having problems, or at least the control of this motor. It seems to go fine into a loading position. So where are we at right now? Let me put this completely so you can see this moves over. So it's now in a fully unloaded position. Now if I go into fast forward, it's loaded into position and you can see it. Oh, that's why it moves forward slightly, to disable eject. Ah, I get it. But watch, it doesn't unload. It just sort of just sits there. And now I'm locked out until I go and fully unload again. Yep. And now I'm in the unloaded position. Now I can say hit rewind, which it doesn't want to do. It'll do fast forward though, but it won't undo. In the meantime, no, the idler does not engage when I'm in a horizontal position. It just does that. So it was playing. The pinch roller is now fully engaging. Okay, I think I have a suspect. Take a look here. I don't have good lighting on this side. This is a brown sheathed wire that's got a ground, a white, and a pink going to this motor. Now, on the inside here, this is the Syscon board. You have, here's a brown sheathed wire. The other brown sheathed wire is part of the audio head going to here. And if I look on the other side, this is, where is a Syscon. Now look at all this disturbance here. I don't know how well the camera's picking it up, but that Q525 has very, very, very cold solder joints. And this whole thing is a mess. So I'm going to just quickly give this an inspection and a reflow, and I wonder if that's our intermittent problem. Alright, this may not look like much, but I've kind of reflowed this whole area, and I cleaned off a crap load of like old, burnt flux. It was like crusty. So this one transistor here probably drives, or at least this might be the only transistor that drives it. I'm not sure. And then there's a little couplet or whatever they call those little parts that have like a bunch of things inside of them, and they're all just filled with epoxy. This has already been reflowed. These two have already been reflowed. And this has all cold solders. So this I just have to reflow here. But there was work done on here already. So this was a fail point, and then someone reflowed that, and it's failed again. Okay, moment of truth. Will it fail out on me now? Fast forward. Still not working. Still not working. Okay, that was funny. I went to go desolder this to check this to see if it's actually working, and as soon as I touched my desoldering gun to it, the VCR unloaded, the motor worked, and I realized I had forgotten to unplug it. So what just happened? I think I would have provided a path to ground from here, but I think this whole thing is isolated and wouldn't use like ground here, because then it would have to be tied to the neutral, which means what I did is I made a electrical connection here, which means that I didn't reflow these properly, and the legs on this are probably still crusty. So let's try that again. You start to notice the little things that whoever was in here before left. Like for example, this screw, what does it go into? Well, if you look here, this plate, focus, should be on the back side here, and it should be sandwiched between the two metal pieces. So in the past, someone's been in here to try and fix this. You can see it with the resoldering there, and you can see my I was getting a little bit of resistance on those traces. They're kind of messed up, so I tried just putting some bodge wires in there. And right now, I've got the multimeter on the motor. So if I go and hit fast forward, you momentarily see a bit of voltage while it loads it in, right? But then you're at 0. When I hit stop, see, there's a bit of negative voltage, but there is not enough to make that motor do anything. And it continues, right? So this VCR, I'm going to wiggle stuff around here, it's trying to drive the motor in the other direction, but it's not working. And if I go and manually unload the motor, so there you can see I'm generating a bit of backfeeding voltage to unload it. Once it's fully unloaded, there we go, it just clicked. Oh, no, not all the way yet. There we go. Now it's unloaded. So it is trying. I need to go and figure out what in the circuit, how this motor is being driven. So like a H bridge or something, I don't know. I couldn't find a schematic for it. I don't think there's any of these left in service from what I've read with the idler in it. Man, the way that power supply is flashing in the camera. It's not doing this in real life, but that really makes me think I should be looking at the power supply. Let me take a look in there. I'm seeing evidence that someone was in here even more. At one point there was probably a plastic cover over this power supply because there was a little remnant of it, a little broken piece of plastic, clear plastic on one of these. Of course it fell in there somewhere. But yeah, this VCR has seen service at least once, probably more times in the past, especially what I've been reading about these idlers. That play idler not working is a common thing. I can't find any info on how they would fail, why they would fail, if the rubber just didn't last, or if it was a mechanical failure in them. Maybe it's something I can bodge together to fix. I'll have to see. Just everyone was saying, oh, I used to work in the industry, and these fishers every year would come in and replace the idlers because they wouldn't last. So it's probably why you don't see many of these left. Anyway, I'm gonna check these caps out. None of these connectors are labeled as to what voltage to expect, and I don't have any service data, so I'm just gonna start poking around, taking a look at these. So the power supply, all the capacitors tested okay. It's as far as I want to go on there. But then I noticed this. So there's this connector you see here with the orange and black wires, and if you look at where it is on the board here, let's get some light in here. So take a look there. That is the same sort of symbol that they use for capacitors, and that's C918. Okay, let's follow it. So it comes down here over to this monstrosity. What? Like, this looks like it's an after-the-fact bodge. Either like a repair recommended by the manufacturer, or someone just shoehorned in a massive capacitor for some reason. What? There's so much about this VCR that's weird. Like this little foil cardboard that's grounded to... Oh yeah, I guess it grounds to that metal there through the plastic. And here, this hole is where the capacitor was mounted. So there is a hole there for this piece of foil, but the screw's never been there. And there was no screw there going to there. So this might have been from the factory. Oh, that's insane. This is a 10,000 microfarad capacitor. So it's going to take a long time to test. Yeah, that tests okay. Huh, okay.
4 to 6 weeks later.
Hi, Yet again, I got busy and have left this sitting on my bench for, I don't know, it's been like a month or something. So to kind of go back to the problem that I was having, this motor will only work in one direction. So one of the drivers for that is either not, probably blown, like if there's like a FET or transistor or something driving it, or there's some sort of a bad connection, because I saw a lot of cold solder joints. For example, if I go and hit fast forward, when I hit stop, it doesn't return. And now it's trying to get that motor to return to the stop position, and I'm locked out. Can't power off, nothing. And by accident, when I was, soldering in here with this plugged in, because I'm an idiot, let's get it right here. If I go to the collector with my soldering iron, it returns. So the question becomes, what is this soldering iron doing? What is it providing? It's providing some sort of a path to complete the circuit. If this transistor is blown, please ignore my little bodge there. I thought maybe these traces were failing under load. They tested okay enough, but not like as low as I would want them to be. What sort of path is this providing? Because this should be isolated, but it might have some path through a capacitor or something. Let me try this by hitting play. So it's fully loaded. Yeah. Sounds delightful. Stop. Doesn't return. Now, you watch, and I'm going to go put the soldering iron on the collector. That was me touching it and letting go and touching it. So, I'm going to investigate this guy. I'm going to pull it out and test it, because I think this guy's bad. 2 diodes. Let's try that again. Yeah, I think this is toast. Yeah, that's not 2 diodes. In fact, I'm going to look this up to see what this actually should be. And, plus, I'm no archaeologist, but yeah, that looks bad. That looks really bad. And take a look at the leg, the collector here. It's just baked, just black and crispy. All right, this is a Motorola JE243. I'm not sure if MJE243 is the same. I suspect it's probably pretty similar. Similar package. 100 volt max rating, obviously we're not getting anywhere near that. 4 amp power transistor. And if I go here to eBay, I can buy some totally legit real ones from, Pennsylvania. Okay. $4, $17 shipping. God damn it. Brutal. And okay, today is March 19th. So I wouldn't get it for a couple of weeks, probably 3 weeks. Sometimes being in Canada is just brutal. $17 shipping. I'm going to see if I can find anything a little bit more reasonable. I just need to add, that's $17 US. So is it trying to ship to US here? It's 17, oh yeah, no, $17 US to ship to Canada. Fucking hell. Okay, this is a little bit more reasonable. I'm not sure the authenticity of these guys. That little Motorola M there is not what I would expect. But hey, might work. We got 4 to try, new old stock. So $6.30 plus $5.05 shipping. I mean, that's more within the realm of what I'd want to pay. What is this place? The D8. I think I've ordered from here before. I think I've ordered from this place before. Okay, well, This video might take even longer now, April 6th to April 22nd. If you see this video before these dates, then shipping worked out well.
3 weeks later.
Yeah, shipping was faster than I thought it would be for these. So I'm going to grab one, pop it in, and let's see what the VCR does. That is more like what I would expect one of these to test like. So let's grab the old one again just to see a comparison. Yeah. All right. Rewind. Fast forward. Good. Oh, I hit play by mistake instead of stop.
You're giving a lot of them shit, yeah. Got my technique down and everything.
Of course, no pause in SP. Let's see this take up reel. She's going.
The guy a foot massage. Fuck you.
Oh, I'm gonna have to bleep that.
Fuck you.
You know, I'm kind of tired. I could use a foot massage.
That's very good news. Now I need to look into this idler to see if it's probably just the rubber's bald on it. Also, I fixed this, the screw that was in the wrong spot. So now this metal piece runs along the back of both of these boards and they sit properly. Okay. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run some sandpaper on this idler tire to see if I can just perk it up a little bit, and I want to make sure that there's enough tension with the spring pushing it on there. I also want to grab an EP tape because I want to see what the pause and fast forward and rewind scan, the cue and review, look like on this. All right, random EP recorded tape.
It's all right. Someone should do something. You had your chance, Nicholas, and you didn't, so put it out.
Yeah. Oh, that's a beautiful pause.
Don't be such a fool.
Not bad. Do frame advance. Okay, I'm only pressing it once. Press once. Damn. So the frame advance on here will go and seek out a perfect frame every time. If I go to slow. What? Okay, so I got slow tracking here. You know, for a VCR in 1981, it's not bad. It's not bad at all. Let's go back to play. Let's try Q. Yeah, that's pretty typical. Oh, but I don't have to press and hold.
But this kid.
Now let's try review, which will probably eat the tape if the Ooh.
She's a walking catalog of teenage.
What did that? Let's try this again. Oh! This. So that's fast forward or Q. We'll try review again. Yeah. So this doesn't move and it jams up. Weird. What's it doing down here? So it's using the fast forward and rewind idler, the one that's on top there. Let's see if I stop this. Yep. That worked as it should. So far all I'm seeing is that it's just two worn idlers. Like, that's it. So I'm gonna rough them up and see what that happens. Words. Roughed up the idler for take up during play, and I roughed up both of the real table idler tires. And so, I mean, they would all need to be replaced. They all should be replaced. I don't know if you can even still buy them, but to demonstrate this thing working, I think we're good. The rewind one is a lot happier than the forward one. I think I need to give this one a little bit more love. It struggles a little bit. So let's hit play. And look at that, the take up is working in play. We got a picture.
This place is supposed to be covered by uniform.
It is. She left the grounds to go to the corners.
Hit pause, get a nice clean pause. And now, if I hit review, works beautifully. Do Q. We'll play again.
What can we do?
Do slow motion. That, for 1981, that's freaking impressive.
I've got to find places for all
Can
these
do
ones.
so frame doesn't work unless I hit pause, but I can go directly into slow. Obviously, it's a different mode. Again, a single press, and it will catch a perfect frame every time. That's quite neat. For a two-head VCR from this era to have this good of sort of special effects. Yeah, granted it's on the EP mode, but I'm impressed. That counts for something. Play. Gotta unpause that way.
Might be able to salvage something.
I mean, how do you people sleep at night? How do you rationalize your incompetence?
What about my car? Your car has been impounded for evidence. It'll be returned to you as soon as the papers are processed. Wouldn't count on that happening soon. They're a little slow down there. Keep it. It's a rental. I'll take the bus. Sign for your things.
So it looks like it actually powers off the tuner LED indicators. So I've always read about this guy, can't remember the name of it, I'll put it on the screen below, and that it stabilizes the picture on the video head. So I'd like to show the difference that it makes. See, there's a bit of wiggling there. It's probably hard to tell on the camera. I just had a previous scene, and the sort of, as the vertical goes down, any horizontal wiggle that you typically see on VHS, this seems to stabilize it a lot. So that was the original intent of this, and I think newer VCRs probably just found that they didn't need it as much, maybe with the design, or the difference it made was minor. You know, it's all cost cutting, but that's what it seems to do. Got a nice rock solid picture. Come on, show me a vertical line. Okay, here we go. So I'll get rid of that. So you can kind of see a bit of jitter. See on that door. Drop it in. Solid. The individual lines, you still see a bit of noise. I would say that aspect of the picture on this VCR is not great. So many just weird ways of doing things. So on the back of the front panel, there's just a little metal shield here. And it's got this really annoying short pigtail that just bends this. And so you have to try and hold it up with your knee to disconnect this ground wire. All right, everything's lubed up now. Nice and smooth. All this black grease around here was pretty nasty, so gave that all a nice cleaning. Not the greatest picture, but you know, it's an old recording. Check this out. So these are the connections coming from the video head. They're just like there, they're just exposed. If I put my finger nearby, I can bring in all the nearby noise just as a little antenna. Ooh, yeah. What surprises me is that this isn't picking up more noise from nearby stuff. I've got lights. Actually, both of these are fluorescent, but there are LED lights in here. And getting my phone close, I've tried all that, so it's fairly noise immune considering that. And this little replacement transistor, not even getting warm. So something must have driven this thing hard, or maybe the cold solder joints developed, because there's all around here there was cold solder joints. It could be it was cold solder joints and then the grease had sort of gone all sticky, which it was. Maybe the belt gummed up. There was an old belt in there and pushed this thing a little too hard. Who knows? We got the shield, just sort of floats like that. And then this piece of steel that I guess prevents the top from bending down and touching the video head, because that would be a problem. What I did to this idler tire here that goes and drives the take-up reel table when you're playing using this capstan motor here, scuffed this up, ran a little rubber renew on it. It's actually in really good shape now. But the spring seemed a little bit lackluster. This little spring that pushes, so you can take a look there, this spring. So I gave it the evermost slight bend, because when you put this VCR proper, like horizontal, this didn't quite have enough oomph to push it. It's like the spring had just fatigued over time. So I took it out, gave it a little bit of a bend, and now it seems to work just great. Oh, is that a crack? Let's see. Yeah, looks like there's a little crack on there. I mean, yeah, these tires are super old, but it's definitely not smooth. Like, it is soft and has some grip to it. Here it is all cleaned up. Actually came out real nice looking. I was able to keep this label on top and just clean around it. These two screws aren't original. Originally it had this kind of screw in it, but I seem to have lost the other one, or maybe it was missing. So I just found some similar threaded screws that they seem to look decent. They seem to match everything. Oh yes. The belt, loading belt, the one I put in was slightly too long. So when I left this sitting for a while, it wouldn't quite have enough oomph to get up and go and the belt would slip. So I tried boiling the belt that was originally in here, and that seems to have made it work a lot better. Got rid of that sort of dent from it sitting so long. And look what I have. The remote.
Asking you a goddamn thing.
Now, of course, when I hit pause, you get no video on here. So let's go through the demonstration of this. This is a two-head model, the FVH 520. It's from around, I've seen it advertised in late 1981 and then as late as 83. So it's from that early 80s era. I think this was sold for quite a few years. Now, feature-wise, this has all three recording speeds. Well, that's interesting. Oh. Button might need a little bit of cleaning there. It does have cue and review, and slow motion, frame advance, and still frame pause, but only in EP mode. LP and SP, it won't even respond to these buttons. So cue review, do nothing, slow motion, frame advance. And when you hit pause, as you just saw there, it just blanks the screen completely, being a two-head model. Some of these early two-head models, I know Panasonic made ones. Who else? JVC? JVCs were all four-head, I think, from this era. But Panasonic made two head models that would just do special effects regardless and just give you noise on screen, which kind of became the norm. But some manufacturers like Fisher, I think the early Hitachis did the same thing. They just wouldn't show you information if it was full of noise. There was a whole slew of models with this same styling. The lowest end was the FVH 510. It didn't have any controls here. No audio dub, no cue, blah, blah, blah. Two head model as well. This is a 14-day single event timer. I think that one was a single event, but just one day. Instead of having 14 mechanical push buttons, it had 12. And the remote was pause only, so it just had a single button remote to pause. I don't know if it offered still frame in EP with pause. That's unclear. Next model up, FVH 515. That one brought in an 8-button remote. So it's basically the same remote as this, but it doesn't have slow frame advance, cue, and review. It did have audio dub though. So if you looked at the front here, you had 2 buttons, but none of these. 2-head model. I believe it had still frame in EP. And I don't know about the timer. Then there's this model, which as you can see from the top here, has a 12-function remote. 14 presets. These presets were not cable ready. Technically, like if you look at the setting here, let's open that up. It doesn't list any of the alpha characters for the cable frequencies. So this one, you could probably pick up a few cable stations on the fringes of VHF high, but it wasn't technically supported. This one also had special effects, but only in EP. Audio dub. And yeah, the wired remote. Moving on to the FVH 525. That one was 4 video heads. So that one had special effects in all modes. That one also had multiple events. I think it was 4 events? 4 events, 14 days, something like that. So it had more events supported and the exact same remote. Now what's interesting is this has a button called, it says quick. And this was like Panasonic's OTR, one touch record. This was quick touch record. Same idea, you press it to get 30, 60, 90 minute record to set a timer. Like at the beginning of a show, you can just hit it to record your 60-minute show instead of setting a timer in advance. But I don't see the quick button anywhere on here. So I haven't tested yet to see if this feature is actually on this VCR or if this button just happens to be here because this remote was used on both the 520 and the 525. One other thing I forgot to mention, the FVH 525 had electronic push buttons because it had multiple events. I think it's 5 events now that I think about it. Instead of being these mechanical push buttons, if you're setting multiple timer recordings, you want the VCR to be able to electronically choose the channel, right? Because your different recordings will be on different channels. So it was electronic. Finally, the FVH 530, which had the same electronic tuning control. I believe it had more events, like 9 events you could record on the timer. And it had a wireless remote. So the wireless remote, I think it said it has 13 buttons. So it had a channel button to be able to cycle through the channels and the little wireless remote receiver here. And in the location where this remote plug is, there was a little reset button, I guess, to reset the electronics in the VCR. Never heard of that. Don't know. Maybe it was unreliable and they figured they need to put a reset button in. So let's try an EP recorded tape, which I've put in here. T160. So we can try the special effects. So what's kind of neat about this VCR is when you hit pause, it will actually seek to try and find the cleanest image. This time it didn't quite make it, but let's try again. See, it seeks there and tries to find a clean image. A lot of other VCRs from this era I've used just don't care. So that's kind of neat. Same thing if I hit frame advance, I'll press it once. And every time it tries to find the cleanest image. Which, you know, it's a nice little feature. I appreciate that. If I put it in slow motion. So I actually have a slow motion tracking control. Now the neat thing about the tracking on this VCR is that it to adjust the tracking, right? It's adjusting the relationship between your control track pulse head and the video head drum swipe. So it has to increase or decrease that timing somehow. And on most VCRs I've used, it will temporarily adjust the capstan speed. This does it with the video head speed, which is cool because in slow motion, it's very difficult to try and adjust slow motion tracking on, say, a Panasonic, because you're going in slow motion, right? It takes forever. You make an adjustment on it and you have to wait a few, frames for it to be noticeable. But on this one, it's instant. So if I go and adjust the other way, it happens so quickly. So I can clean the picture up very fast. And you can hear the motor on the video head drum changing when I adjust this. It's kind of neat. So let's get back into play mode. Try Q. We can do review. So yeah, I mean, it does a pretty decent job. Honestly, I'm pretty impressed. I haven't really done any recording or playback testing, on a LCD TV like this. It's not going to look great. Pause. Adjust the tracking. That's interesting. I can hear the video head speed change in the audio. Listen to this.
McDonald's, proud sponsor of the 1996 U.S. Olympic team. Something new from Lever 2000.
So that wasn't happening before. Maybe his filter cap has decided to give up, as they tend to. Yeah, I'm overall pretty impressed with this thing. It's very unique. The design of it, with all the idlers inside, it's not really what I'm used to seeing. I've read a lot of bad things about these being unreliable, that the idlers were just notoriously bad. As far as I can tell, this one hasn't had the idlers ever serviced. And other than a bit of sanding and rubber renew on all the tires, and slightly giving more tension on the take-up supply reel table idler for playback. That little spring there that had gotten a little loose. Other than that, they all seem to work just fine. There's a bit of a knocking when I do rewind and fast forward because there's a dent in the tire on the idler between the two reel tables because it's been sitting for so long. So if I hit fast forward, you hear kind of a knocking. Same thing with rewind. But, I mean, a bit of sanding has kind of mitigated that noise, so it's not nearly as bad as it was. Just looking at the controls on the front here. Got our tracking controls, video and audio input, which I'm just using to mute the tuner when I'm not playing. Remote pause, this was typically used if you plugged in a camera by itself. Say you wanted to just record Christmas, and you had a separate camera that wasn't a camcorder. You could plug it into the inputs on the front here, and then the pause control was actually on the camera. It was a remote pause, so you could just walk around with the camera on a long cable and record your family and the VCRs sitting in the same room just recording the event. So that's why a lot of these early VCRs had the inputs on the front, was to plug into a camera. A microphone input, because this has audio dub. So once you're done with your home movies, you can go and you can dub over talking and say, oh, this is the Grand Canyon. And we're never going to watch this tape again. It's the Grand Canyon, but we recorded it, and it's nice. TV VCR for the RF modulator. Set the clock. Do I hold? Oh, I do hold. Buttons are a little dirty. There we go. It's probably not accurate. And if I hit start, so it'll default to that. And I think if I hold start, I can adjust that. Ah, okay, so the day with the rectangle around it is current. Every day, Sunday. So this is only 7-day. Because I don't see a week 2 on here. I can do end. What's neat is when I'm done setting this, even if I shut this off, it shows me this information all the time. Really, it even shows the counter when it's off? Like, it's off. No wonder this VFD is so dim. It's been on for a decade before this got retired. Has a similar look to it to all the early 80s top-loading VCRs of the time. Fisher, Montreal, Quebec. So this one was specifically sold in Canada, because normally you'd have the US office listed here if it was sold in the US. Made in Japan by Sanyo. And it's really straightforward on the back here. Here, RF modulator switch. Oh my god. That is stuck on 3. Yeah, it's not moving. RF in and out. Video and audio out. And, like, that's it. You know, going back to the rear connections here, you know why I thought this was so simple? There's RF connections for UHF and VHF in one. This was very, very uncommon, if not unheard of, on VCRs of this age. All of them had separate twin lead for UHF. A lot of VCR manufacturers didn't start doing this till the 90s, or at least late 80s. Wow. Well, that's interesting. I got all excited with the unified RF connections on the back and thought, oh, okay, let me just tune in some stations and like on my internal cable, and I can try some recording. This thing won't pick up anything. Something is wrong with the tuner. And it's not just the RF output on it. I have it connected to here with AV, which of course for tuning in stations is difficult. So I have the RF output tied to this CRT that you can hear squealing in the background. And I cannot find anything. But the moment I turn the RF modulator in here off, suddenly I got all the channels working. So it's not the channels that aren't working, it's the tuner in the VCR. Dang. Okay, for recording purposes, I now have this set to the output of a separate VCR to tune in channels. Interesting, you can see the gain go way up before it drops. So let's pick something. I don't know if I have all the channels tuned in here.
Yeah, chaos. You don't understand what I'm talking about. They look like spies.
Man, it really darkens. Okay, well, let's try some recording.
Oh, you...
We should be careful not to speak unless it's absolutely, positively necessary. Shh. You're causing more avalanches. They've stopped Let's go. Oh, those last 3 avalanches were your fault, Simpson.
If anyone knows more about these experiences with them, history, if they know anything about the idea of these being designed in the US by Fisher, like in the US, of course manufactured by Sanyo, please let me know. I am absolutely fascinated by the idea of a VCR being designed in the US, like a VHS VCR, because my understanding for years has been that all VHS machines and beta machines up until the mid-80s were designed and made in Japan. Until Korean models came out, it was all Japan. And that would explain how unique and weird some of the stuff inside here is. And would kind of make this a neat historical piece. Maybe not the most reliable from what I've heard of these, but I mean, this one seems to work great. And yeah, and if anyone knows how those idlers would fail, is it just one of the tires would wear out prematurely, or would something break or snap? That I'd love to know. Anyway, thanks for watching this video that took me way too long to finish and upload and stuff. Bye. Oh, this is awkward.